Now, history was made on Monday when Cuba and the United States officially reopened embassies that had been shuttered for more than 50 years. Since President Obama first announced the beginning of the normalization process with the island nation, both governments have moved quickly to work together to opening up relations. But what will all of the inevitable changes in Cuba mean for the country's youth? In a photo essay for Foreign Policy magazine this week, the Hipsters of Havana, photographer Edu Bayer takes a look at the life of Cuba's next generation, and he joins me now. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So why is it that you decided to specifically to focus on the young people in the country?
It has been the whole my life. I wanted to know the Cuban reality because I'm kind of I've been more sensitive with the left-wing policies, and Cuba was kind of light tower for all this world. But I didn't go. I've been traveling to other places, and since I was living in New York, and all after the December 17th, all this Cuban moment that actually I think is an American moment, because all this emotion, I felt it bigger here than in Cuba. I was affected by all this atmosphere, and then it was the trigger that brought me to Cuba and take the decision.
So you didn't really feel the same type of excitement or energy about the normalizing of relations in Cuba, right? What did your subjects tell you?
I think this emotion, this wave is of optimism is smoother in Cuba. I talk about Cuba, but I've been mostly in Havana. I've been it's an ongoing project I'm doing about the Cuban transition, and I came a month ago in my second trip, and I'm planning to go back in a month or so. And yeah, I think here I attend to an opening about in a Chelsea gallery about Cuban art, Cuban photography in particular, and it was super full, people lining like 200 meters outside in the street. I went to conferences, and it's everything related to Cuba. It's full, and people are really interested about it. But in Cuba, the people is just they don't trust that things are gonna go as fast as people may think here.
And what, for the most part, I think that for Americans, so little is really known about I think for Americans, so little is known about what life is really like in Cuba right now. So for young people living in Havana, what do they do? What kind of jobs do they mostly have? What is life on a daily basis really like for them?
Yeah, I decided to focus on the youth because I thought it's the most pushing and changing part of society, and that's why I tried the youth and the millennials. The original title of my project was Cuban Millennials, and I want to say that Cuban life for youth is tough because the system is not working so good anymore. And the average salary, it's is quite known, is those $20–25 per month. It's not enough for living in a city like Havana. So the young people, I have to say that the majority, they're still struggling to get the bread and butter. I don't know if that's correct, that expression, just to earn enough money to feed themselves and to pay the basic clothing and stuff. So I would say that most of the people in Cuba are focused on the daily needs. But there is a very good education, and they all have a very mature and solid vision of the world and reality. So it's this contrast situation of like this kind of material poverty and spiritual and richness on the spiritual and educational field, that it's crazy because I think it's a unique case.
Well, and do they feel like more opportunity will open itself up soon, or are they concerned that maybe with the normalizing of relations come more American tourists, means that life in Havana will become more expensive, but that they won't get to reap the benefits of that?
That's you brought like few important points to me. Yeah, the prices are rising in Havana because of the tourists, and the American tourists are going, and they're expecting to be more and more. The real estate business is growing, so the prices are rising too. Everybody's investing, but there's a layer of youth that they somehow perceive these changes, these coming changes, and they start to work for example, with foreign partners to invest on property or to set up business, because nowadays it's not yet permitted by foreigners to own businesses or houses. So this is very common, like this kind of alliances between forefront persons and some Cubans. But this is still a mystery, because it's based on private contracts that, the foreigners it's not really legal, this paper that says that they also own the house.
Yeah.
And then, but most of the population, most of the youth, I believe, they're still in this willing to do something and start to feeling that something is coming, but they don't really know how to place themselves. I perceive this kind of anxiety.
Anxiety,
because something is coming, but the big challenge is gonna be if these new opportunities, if Cuba will know how to spread the benefits and how to include as much people as possible.
That's right. Well, still a lot of uncertainty about Cuba's future. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.